All right, let's talk about the secret engine that runs our entire world. It's called Operations and Supply Chain Management, and it's the system that designs, builds, and delivers pretty much every single thing you use. If you really want to get how business actually works, well, this is it. This is where it all starts.
I mean, think about a place like IKEA. It almost feels like magic, doesn't it? You walk in, see all this stylish furniture that's somehow super affordable, and when you go to the warehouse, the exact box you need is just there, waiting for you. So how in the world do they pull that off? It's not magic, I promise you. It's a masterclass in operations and supply chain management, and it's the secret behind how almost everything you own finds its way to you.
So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to open up this toolkit and see what's inside. Then, we'll look at the strategy, the blueprint, for using those tools, and how that helps you win over customers. After that, we'll get real about handling risk. And finally, we'll wrap up with how to measure what actually matters. Let's jump in.
All right, let's start with the big one. What exactly is Operations and Supply Chain Management? You'll hear people call it OSCM for short.
At its core, OSCM is all about managing the entire system, from the very beginning to the very end, that gets a product or a service into a customer's hands. It's not just one thing, it's the whole coordinated process of creating and delivering value.
And you can actually break down this huge system into 5 basic steps. It all kicks off with planning, just figuring out what you need and how to meet demand. Then you source all your materials. After that comes making the actual thing. Once it's ready, you deliver it. And because life isn't perfect, you need a plan for returning things.
Let's make this super simple. Think about a pair of jeans. The sourcing begins at a cotton farm. The making happens when that cotton gets turned into denim and sewn together. The delivering is that whole journey to the store and then to your closet. And hey, if they don't fit, that's the returning process kicking in. And the whole thing is guided by a master plan. That entire journey is what OSCM manages. Now, this whole system applies to physical goods, like our jeans, but also to intangible services, like getting a haircut or taking a class. And here's the key. You have to manage them differently. I mean, you can't exactly store a haircut in a warehouse for later, right? And every single service experience is a little bit different. Understanding that difference is absolutely fundamental.
So, we know what the tools are, but a toolkit is kind of useless if you don't have a blueprint. That's strategy. It's all about how companies use these tools to actually compete and, win.
Look, no company can be everything to everyone. It's just not possible, so they have to pick their battles. Are you going to compete on price, like a budget airline, or on quality, like a fancy car brand? Maybe your thing is speed, like Amazon Prime Delivery. Or maybe it's all about flexibility, being able to zig when the market zags. These are the big strategic choices every business has to make.
It's a tempting thought, right? To be the absolute cheapest, have the best quality, and be the fastest all at the same time. But do you think that's actually possible in the real world? And the answer is almost always a hard no. This is maybe one of the most important concepts in all of business strategy: trade-offs. If you want to be the absolute cheapest, you're probably going to have to sacrifice some speed. If you want to be the fastest, your costs are going to go up. A great strategy isn't just about what you decide to do, it's about what you consciously decide not to do, so you can be amazing at what matters most.
Okay, so if you have to make these trade-offs, how do you make the right ones? The ones that actually get people to choose you over the competition. This is where your operations have to be perfectly in sync with your marketing.
And that brings us to 2 really important ideas: order qualifiers and order winners. Think of order qualifiers as the price of admission. They're the bare minimum to even be in the running. For a car, that means it has to have an engine and brakes. That just gets you in the game. But order winners, that's the good stuff. That's what makes you pick one car over another. Maybe it's the incredible gas mileage, that sleek design, or the killer sound system. That's what wins the sale.
And this is how a brilliant company puts it all together. This is IKEA's activity map. You can see their order winners are crystal clear: stylish furniture at a low cost. And look at this. Every single choice they make, from having huge suburban stores to designing everything to be flat-packed, it's all laser-focused on delivering those 2 things. It's not an accident. It's a perfectly aligned system.
But here's the thing. A brilliant strategy is totally worthless if it falls apart at the first sign of trouble. So a massive part of modern OSCM is building a system that's resilient and can handle whatever the world throws at it.
And let's be honest, the world is full of things that can go wrong. We've all seen it, right? A pandemic shuts down factories, a single ship gets stuck and blocks global trade,
A natural disaster takes out a key supplier. Any one of these things can bring even the best supply chain to a screeching halt.
This is why the pros don't just cross their fingers and hope for the best. They actually plan for the worst. They use tools just like this risk assessment matrix. I know it looks complicated, but the idea behind it is pretty simple. You map out your strategic choices, like using just one supplier, against all the things that could go wrong. And you can see right away that relying on a single source makes you extremely vulnerable if that supplier fails. That's a big red flag. It's not about predicting the future. It's about making smarter choices so you're ready for it.
So, we have our strategy, we've thought about our risks, but how do we actually know if we're doing a good job? Let's talk about how we measure what really matters: productivity and, more and more, sustainability.
Okay, let's nail down two critical ideas: efficiency versus effectiveness. Efficiency is all about doing things right. Doing something at the lowest possible cost, like an airline turning a plane around super fast. But effectiveness is about doing the right things, creating the stuff your customer actually wants. Because let's face it, being the world's most efficient maker of a product nobody buys is just a really fast way to go out of business. Great companies have to be great at both.
And these days, the very definition of a winning strategy is changing. It's not just about the profit anymore. Modern companies are judged on what's called the triple bottom line. They're looking at three things: profit, which is the economic side; people, which is social responsibility; and planet, which is environmental impact.
And that idea is the very heart of sustainability. It's this huge shift from just thinking about the next quarter's profits to thinking long-term. It means building a business that can succeed today without messing things up for the people who come after us.
So why should you care about all this? Because these ideas are the bedrock for some of the most important jobs in literally any organization. Whether you dream of running a factory, a hospital, a global supply chain, or even being the chief operating officer someday, understanding OSCM isn't optional. It is the language of how things actually get done in the real world.
We've really just scratched the surface of this incredibly powerful business builder's toolkit. This is the framework that lets people turn amazing ideas into reality, whether it's the next big tech gadget or delivering life-saving medicine across the globe. So the only question left is, now that you've seen the toolkit, what are you going to build?